Hello and thanks for joining us for this edition of France in Focus, dedicated to the subject of migrants. Well, it's an issue very much in the news right now because last year this country received a record number of asylum applications, more than 100,000 in all. That's a 17% increase on the year before. Well, we're now at a reception centre on the edge of Paris. It's known as the Bubble because of its shape and because of the fact that it is inflatable. Well, here people can register, they can visit a doctor, and also lodgings can be found for them. Well, as we're about to see, it's sometimes thanks to members of the French public that some of them avoid having to sleep rough.
Sitting on the northern edge of Paris, this registration centre is the very first step for refugees looking to secure housing. It's often overcrowded, so every evening volunteers like Fanny work hard to find alternatives for those left outside. 13-year-old Amir came all the way from Afghanistan with his mother and sister.
For a few days while they go through the first steps, there's just no housing provided.
To avoid the family sleeping rough tonight, Fanny sends out an alert on her phone to a network of around 50 people. She's in luck. Someone's answered the call. They make their way into the center of Paris, to the affluent 2nd arrondissement.
Hello, my name is Rokhaya.
Enchantée. Moi, c'est Françoise. Entrez.
Françoise is now retired and lives alone in this 4-bedroom. She's agreed to take them in.
These are not people I found in the street. They're vetted. They've submitted an application. I can't imagine what risk there could be in welcoming this family or a couple who have no other options.
A short moment of respite for this family. They say they don't want to go back to Afghanistan.
Good night.
A lack of resources means 20 to 50% of new arrivals don't manage to get housing. This family traveled from Bangladesh with their 11 and 5-year-old children. Tonight, they're hosted by Michel, who opens up his small bookshop to migrants.
I'm just taking down the mattresses that we'll put on the floor. So we'll have one here, one over there, everywhere.
Himself a father, Michel sees solidarity as the only answer in the face of such a crisis.
We can all do something to help. So many of us have a small space which we can offer up, even if it's quite rudimentary. I mean, this isn't exactly a 5-star hotel. It's 20 square meters for sometimes up to 10 people.
With no other options, these 2 teenagers, aged just 15 and 16, will sleep in the back of this van. On some nights, it fits up to 8 youngsters. The others will have to get by with just a few blankets. They'll sleep on the floor outside the registration center to make sure they're the very first ones in tomorrow morning.
Arriving in a new country with a different language and different customs can be intimidating for people who come to Europe. So information is the key. Well, that's where websites like Info Migrants come into play, offering reliable information. And that website is in partnership with this channel, France 24. Well, to tell us more about it, I'm joined now by journalist Sherif Bibi, who is from Info Migrants. Thank you so much for speaking to us.
Thank you.
Just tell us, first of all, how does this website work?
Info Migrants, it's a 3-language website. It aims at providing refugees and migrants with the resources and news that are reliable and true. From the minute they start their trip, like from the minute they leave their home countries, during their trip, and the minute they arrive to the destination they want to reach to.
We just saw a report which showed a lady who welcomed a family into her home. Is that something that anyone here in France can do?
To be on the safe side, you have to go through or via certain NGOs that deal with this kind of projects. Another way is that you go and you just meet some migrants, talk with them, tell them they can come and stay with you for a couple of nights. And for this way, it's a bit tricky because you don't know really if these people are refugees or not, if they have papers or not. And you have to be really careful in this aspect because if they were sans papier with no papers, you could go into troubles with the law.
And also, when you accept someone into your house, like we saw in this report, It must be very difficult the following morning when they've only come for one night to tell them, okay, it's time for you to leave now, especially in the middle of winter.
Of course. That's why certain NGOs, they have certain rules for this. Like, for example, you can't just ask for a couple of migrants to stay at your place for one night. Like most of these NGOs, they ask you to abide by a 3 months minimum period to have them at your place. Another thing is that like every migrant or every refugee should have his own space, his own room at your place. And you should be able to pay for them, for their living, basically, at your place. So not everybody can do this.
Are other European countries leading the way, or is France leading the way in respect to initiatives for helping migrants?
Actually, no. Like initiatives like this in France are still a bit shy, if I may say so. In Belgium, there is this initiative. It's called, if I'm not wrong, Citizens Forum for Supporting Refugees. And lately, they have issued a report. They said in this report that they were able to provide more than 50,000 nights for the refugees to stay in places. So it's there more than France.
All right, well, thank you very much indeed for sharing that with us, Sherif Bibi from Info Migrant. Thank you so much.
Most welcome.
Well, before you think about welcoming migrants into your home, as we've been saying, there are various legal aspects that you need to be aware of. Let's take a closer look.
Assisting the illegal entry, circulation or presence of foreigners in France is punishable by 5 years in prison and a €30,000 fine. Human rights groups call it being guilty of solidarity. The text applies to those who help undocumented migrants but not asylum seekers. As long as they've officially requested asylum, their presence in France is legal. In 2012, under François Hollande, the law was slightly softened. Assisting an undocumented migrant is now legal under certain conditions. It may only be done to preserve the person's dignity or physical well-being, and it also has to be done selflessly, without direct or indirect compensation. In other words, accommodation or food must be offered free of charge. While it is perfectly legal to assist a person in distress, facilitating the entry or circulation of illegal immigrants is still punishable by law. For example, if migrants are crossing a dangerous road, it is legal to offer them help or transportation. But taking them to a train station to facilitate their journey is forbidden, a subtle difference that's left to the judge's discretion.
So that's what the law states with regards to helping migrants. And it's important to know about because there have been some high-profile cases of people helping and then landing themselves in trouble. We're going to take you now to meet one such individual in the south of France.
This is French farmer Cédric Heureux. Despite having been convicted of helping refugees cross the border, he's continuing his work. He says it takes more than criminal conviction for him to stop.
If I stop at some point, it's because I've been worn down by the fight. It won't be because of regret or a change of heart. Far from it.
Before 2016, Cédric was an olive grower, the main source of his income. But his farming has since taken a backseat.
I've neglected my work over the past 2 years. Because of that, I've had much smaller harvests. I've lost around 15 to 20,000 euros a year, which is important. It represents around half my annual turnover.
This is where the young farmer has been living for around 15 years, in the Roya Valley on the border of Italy.
The mountain is a bit like the sea. You have a duty of care. It's a rule. If a sailor sees a person in need of help in the sea, he doesn't start wondering what religion is he, or what skin color does he have.
Inta, indak. Tu as. Because tu es is inta.
Elias arrived in the Roya Valley 2 weeks ago, but the 25-year-old Nigerian first heard of Cédric in Italy.
He's carrying a heavy load. He opened his heart straight away to help these people through. He and others fed them, clothed them. Without his help, I don't know if these people would be where they are now.
Over the years, Cédric has helped thousands of migrants. He ferries them from Ventimiglia in Italy to France so that they can apply for asylum. This is deemed illegal.
It was at the beginning of a series of deaths at the Franco-Italian border that I told myself they're going to pass through anyway. So all I did was accompany people and avoid them putting their lives in danger.
But activism has its consequences. For years, Cédric's property has been closely watched by local authorities. Since his trial over the summer, fewer migrants are passing through the Roya Valley. As a result, Cédric's fight has taken on a new dimension. The Young Farmers Association is now providing legal migration advice for the underprivileged.
Well, that's it for this week's edition of France in Focus. Thank you very much indeed for watching. We'll see you again soon here on France 24.